Alright, time to dust off your still suits and keep an eye out for sandworms, as today I'm going to be taking a closer look into Dune Awakening, the upcoming survival MMO set in the harsh world of Arrakis. Funcom, the studio behind Conan Exiles, is bringing its sandbox expertise to the spice-rich sands, promising brutal PvE and PvP combat, deep survival mechanics, and a massive open world where hundreds of players will battle for dominance. But with no beta, tight-lipped devs, and some early red flags, is this the next great survival MMO? Or just another mirage in the desert? So stay tuned as I'll be giving you all you need to know about its story, how the gameplay will be going, as well as some more details about the price, release date, and what the game will be like on launch. But if you're enjoying this content more than a sandworm loves spice, maybe subscribe to find more games to get lost in. But on with the video. Story-wise, Funcom is taking a bold approach, setting the game in an alternate timeline where Paul Atreides was never born. House Atreides still stands, the Emperor's Sordacar protect the spice trade, and the Fremen? They've mysteriously vanished. You'll be playing as a prisoner for the Bene Gesserit, or as I like to say, the Bene Benassi, sent on a mission to find the lost warriors and awake the sleeper. Though without Paul in the picture, who that is remains a mystery. So with that in mind, what about the gameplay? So before you even step onto the sands of Arrakis, you'll need to start your journey off-world, aboard a massive spaceship where you'll be creating your character. But this isn't just about tweaking sliders and picking a cool face tattoo. No, here your choices will affect your starting skills and playstyle. The character creator draws inspiration from the Dune films, letting you adjust everything from muscle tone to the shape of your eyebrows. Then comes the real depth here, choosing your origin and mentor, which will help determine your starting abilities. This sounds very interesting, and I'm looking forward to see how this plays out. The game even incorporates a truth test with the Revenant Mother, making the process feel somewhat more immersive than just clicking through options. Now, along with that release date trailer, we also got access to this character creator. I tried it out and it was pretty cool. Moving on, once you land, Arrakis is going to be wasting no time in reminding you that it is, well, in fact, trying to kill you. You'll be waking up in a cave, which I guess will be a relatively safe space to get your bearings. Here you'll find a Fremen survival kit, your first taste of crafting as you piece together a scrap knife from salvaged metal. This knife isn't just for show though, you'll be using it to break moisture seals and escape into the open desert. The moment you step outside, the game's survival mechanics are going to kick into high gear. Sunstroke is an immediate threat, with a UI bar tracking your exposure. Spend too much time in direct sunlight and your character starts losing water at an alarming rate. Talk about a thirst trap. Finding shade, crafting protective gear, and managing hydration becomes second nature. But the environment isn't your only problem. Sandworms will always be a constant danger. Early on you'll encounter smaller ones, but as you progress, the real monsters start showing up, making every trek through the dunes a gamble. But the survival here just isn't about dodging heatstroke and sandworms, you also need to fight. Combat in Dune Awakening mixes third-person shooting, melee attacks, and these unique abilities. You'll get access to tools like the Shigar Wireclaw to traverse the landscape, and weapons like the Maula pistol designed to bypass personal shields. And yes, we all know about those shields, and speaking of those, they're gonna change up the combat quite significantly. Since they stop fast-moving projectiles, melee combat here is going to become essential against shielded enemies. Special abilities like the Mentat's battlefield calculation will also add another layer of strategy, letting you assess enemy gear before diving into battle. Now in Arrakis, water is everything, but when the water is scarce, desperate measures come into play, like extracting blood from fallen enemies. Yes, you can drink blood, but it comes with a price, a debuff that reduces your overall health. It's a grim but quite fascinating mechanic that highlights the game's harsh survival elements, forcing players to weigh their options carefully. Now, establishing a foothold on Arrakis is not going to be easy, but building a base is going to be a key part of survival. The game will be featuring a system where you can claim land using a sub-thief console, Though, of course, this comes with a tax paid to the Emperor. Bases aren't just about protection though, they include fabricators, refineries, and even blood purifiers to make all that sweet extracted blood slightly less disgusting. The game also supports cooperative base building, letting players team up to design, construct, and even sell blueprints to others. Again, I'm very curious about how this is all going to work. Moving on to mobility and exploration, traversing Arrakis on foot is going to be a slow death sentence, so vehicles play a huge role in the game. The first ride you'll get is the sweet sand bike, which will be a customizable vehicle that helps you zip across the dunes. The crafting process will be detailed here, involving 3D printing style fabrication of individual parts. Later on though, players can then work together to build larger vehicles, from ornithopters to massive sand crawlers, making exploration and resource gathering hopefully a lot more efficient. One thing to note is that the world of Arrakis is alive, and not just because of those sandworms. Dynamic events keep things unpredictable, like maybe a ship crashes nearby, spilling loot for players to fight over, or maybe a rare resource appears, luring in both NPCs and rival players. And then when it's time for sleepy time, night also introduces some new dangers, with Sakar patrols hunting for anyone foolish enough to be out in the open. Even just gathering flower sand, a valuable resource, is a risk here, as it attracts sandworms the moment you start harvesting. But maybe you want to take it to the skies. So for those who want to avoid the dangers of the desert, ornithopters offer a safer way to travel. These iconic flying machines will be providing players with a means of scouting and escaping danger. Though, knowing Dune, safe is a relative term here. But you have to also note that not everything in Dune Awakening is about fighting to survive. Hako Village serves as a social hub where players can trade, form guilds, and align themselves with major factions, like House Atreides or House Harkonnen. These choices will then influence the game's larger political landscape, adding another layer to the player-driven experience. Which of these houses would you choose? Let me know in the comments section below. Another feature here that I'm really looking forward to is the dungeons aspect. As for those wanting a challenge, Imperial testing stations function as the game's dungeons. Designed for group play, these locations are filled with tough enemies, traps, and valuable loot. Each station has its own story and strategic elements, requiring teamwork and careful planning to overcome them. Then comes the skill tree and abilities. So here, customization doesn't end with character creation. Players can then also develop their abilities through different skill trees, equipping a mix of techniques to fit their playstyle. With only a limited number of slots available though, choosing the right skills becomes a key part in defining your role in both combat and survival. And then comes that endgame. Everything in Dune revolves around that spice, and in Dune Awakening, the ultimate endgame content is all about massive spice battles. Players will compete over spice blows in the deep desert, engaging in large-scale conflicts against rival guilds. It's going to be a lot of PvP going on here. The game is really going to try and encourage strategic thinking here, so you might even need to deploy those thumpers to summon sandworms as a way to disrupt enemy operations. It's going to be a high-stakes system that hopefully promises intense battles with major rewards. And then with the latest news, Dune Awakening is set to launch on May 20th. But do not expect to play it on Xbox or PlayStation right away. It's going to be PC first. Unlike modern survival MMOs though, there's going to be no early access, which is very strange. It's going to be dropping as a full 1.0 release for $50 or around £49 in the UK. And like I mentioned, you can tinker with that character creator, but it also comes with this benchmarking tool on Steam, but don't expect a playable beta. In fact, the benchmark is basically just a glorified cutscene to give you a rough idea of performance, so not exactly confidence inspiring. And speaking of those concerns, some early feedback points to underwhelming combat and a lack of content. While Funcom, the developers, aren't helping matters by aggressively moderating discussions, scrubbing even mild questions about the beta, PvP, and microtransactions. And yes, there will be pre-order bonuses and likely some launch day skins, but whether we're getting a battle pass is still up in the air. Despite all of this though, there's still hope that Dune Awakening will will deliver a worthy survival experience in the spice-rich world of Arrakis. But right now, it's looking more like a sandstorm than a sure thing. But what are your thoughts? Let me know in the comment section below. As we know, Conan Exiles has come a long way from its rocky launch, but who knows? They might pull a rabbit out of the hat with Dune, but we have to wait and see. But thank you very much for watching. This is Marco here from Easily Distracted Games, and as always, don't stop gaming.